Welcome to the Cultivation Podcast. I am your host, Tom Hamill, and I am glad to be back. We've been on a little hiatus, but this is the Season 7 premiere of the Cultivation Podcast. This season, we're talking all about a season of change, talking about change in my life. I have some incredible guests talking about change in their life, and I just want to set this up of where this conversation is going and really the foundation of where it came from. So, several years ago, I was sitting down with my grandmother on my mom's side, my grandma Trinka. She passed away not that long ago, and I had the awesome privilege, the honor of speaking and sharing and leading her memorial service. She lived, till 95, 96, had an amazing life. And if you know me or if you've hung around me at all, you know that I am like a nerd. I got all the gizmos and gadgets galore. That's a line from The Little Mermaid. But I love technology. I love the advancement of technology. I've had a smartphone for as long as they've been around, way back when, and even before they had the smartphone, I had the PDA, personal digital assistants. I had smart watches. Like, I just love technology. And so I got to sit down with my grandmother towards the end of her life, not right at the end, but towards the end. And I began to ask her about all the changes she had seen in her life. And we sat around the dining room table for hours upon hours, and I was just mesmerized and listened to all of the changes that she saw in her lifetime. And as I began to think about the changes she saw, I began to think about the changes I saw and have seen in my own lifetime. And some of you have been around longer than me, some of you not as long as me, but we've all seen some incredible changes even in our own lifetime. So some of the things that she told me about was when they switched from gas lamp streetlights to electrical streetlights. She told me about when they switched from horse-drawn buses on tracks and rails down the street to actual first electric buses and then gas-powered buses that would give bus routes in the city. She talked to me about going from switchboard telephone systems that she used to work the switchboards and could hear and eavesdrop on conversation. She said, although I never did that. Right, Grandma, we believed you. Not. To the digital switchboards where it was all automated and placing long-distance phone calls, all of these kinds of things. And one thing I never got out of her, she worked and had top security clearance at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio. And it is believed, it is rumored that that's where they took the alien bodies from the New Mexico Roswell crash, that they took those bodies to the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio. And so I'm trying to get all of these. She had security clearance and she knew top secret information. And so I was trying to get this out of her in this conversation of all the things that she knew and saw and watched change and these kinds of things. And she was like, some things you never tell. She took that oath very seriously to be top secret, even if it wasn't secret anymore. But that was my grandmother. She took some of those secrets to the grave with her, and I respect her and honor her for that. Here's the thing that when I was having this conversation, she was about 90 years old. So it was, again, towards the end of her life. And literally, at this stage of her life, she was sending out an email blog to the entire family almost on a daily basis. And so I found it so fascinating that here was a woman that had seen so much change in her life. And for our society, we kind of tend to stereotype specifically older people. My grandmother was older, having this conversation, as not embracing technology or advancements or changes. And she was embracing them. And so many were embracing them and have seen the greatest amount of change. But the thing that struck me the most about this conversation, that I have really walked away from that conversation embracing and trying to live out in my life, is this: change is a universal experience for all of us. That No matter what, since the day we were born, we have been experiencing change. We've been experiencing it in our own life. We've been experiencing it in the lives of those people that are around us. We've been sometimes resistant to it, sometimes embracing it, sometimes loving it, sometimes hating it. We've been emotional about it. We've been logical and illogical about all of the change. But change is the universal human experience. We change from needing to be bottle fed or breastfed, having our diapers changed, to walking, to running, to driving, to flying. We all experience change. Hey, wanted to take a quick break from the podcast to let you know The Life You're Meant to Lead, #1 new release on Amazon, is available both in the ebook, right? Kindle, Audible, where I read it, and the tree version. Make sure you pick it up. It's available anywhere in the world, so you can go to your country's Amazon if you're listening or watching from somewhere else. Pick it up. The Life You're Meant to Lead by Tom Hamill. And this season 7 is literally about the journey of change in your life. And if there's anything from all of the guest episodes and the conversations, and we talk about the generational ripple effect of change, right? How me and some of our guests, right, that you're going to hear from, we talk about, how our change affects our kids, how our change affects our parents, how our change affects our relatives, how our change affects our employees and our bosses, right? Change affects people around us, but we can't deny and we can't eliminate change from our life. So how do we navigate? How do we embrace? How do we take ownership, responsibility? And in some regards, how do we steer and navigate the change that's in our life? That's what this whole season is about. That since we can't eliminate change, how do we embrace it? And in some ways, how do we dictate change? In one of our previous seasons, I talked about mapping out my 20-year identity. Like, who is the 60-year-old Tom going to be? And the whole reason I did that was literally because of this conversation with my grandmother of saying, hey, change is coming in my life. How can I map out what I want the results of that change to be? Now, I know that, and we talk about this in this season, so I don't want you to miss any of the content. I don't want you to miss any of the episodes, but we talk about the unknown of change, that there's unknown fallout, unknown consequences, unknown surprises and gifts to every change that we embrace. So it's not about knowing or even having the illusion of control, but it is about the opportunity, the responsibility to take ownership of the change that is coming. It's about understanding the season that we're in. And are we in a season of change? Are we being provoked to change? Have we outgrown something? I want to tell you about a couple of resources that I didn't even get to in this season, but I want you to know about it. There's an amazing book by Dr. Henry Cloud called Necessary Endings, and it's all about changing relationships in our life, and that not every time we're walking away from a relationship does it have to be bad when we understand, hey, this relationship has come to an end because it served its purpose in both of our lives. And it's okay because we can celebrate the seasons. It can't always be summer. It can't always be winter. It can't always be fall. It can't always be spring. That everything is seasonal, and going through those changes produces, protects, plants, and blossoms so much life inside of us, but it all happens through season of change. I'm excited that one of our guests is my very own daughter, Kylie. She's just turned 20 this last summer and gone through that season. And so now you're hearing and you're seeing her from a perspective of a college-age 20-year-old, even though a number of years ago, she was behind the scenes helping me launch this very podcast that you are experiencing right now. She's been a key foundational part of that, but she's gone through her own changes. And I don't like all of those changes. But yet when I sit down with her at this podcast, I am so honored, blessed, privileged, and proud of the changes she has gone through, even though I haven't liked some of those changes, because I wanted to keep her my little girl, but she's gone through those changes. And so I could be the victim. Oh no, my little girl isn't my little girl anymore. Or I can be the victor to go, look at what an incredible woman she's been. You get to experience that through this content. And so I would just say this. You are in a season of change. Season 7 of the Cultivation Podcast is all about change. You will experience change. You just get to determine today. You get to determine through this content, how will you respond to the change that is coming and that is cultivating in your life right now. And I would say this, if you're listening and you're watching, if you've just discovering this, or if you have been a longtime follower of all of our content, I know this to be true for you. You are in or coming upon a season of change in your life. You needing to make some change, some growth change, some development change, some frequency change in your life. And hopefully you find this season very valuable as you go through that. And so I want to encourage you, embrace the change. I think I say this in the grand finale, be the change in your world, because you were put here to change your world for good, to make an impact, to make an imprint. But you're not going to accidentally be a part of that, but you can intentionally embrace the change in your life. That's what this season is about. That's what this content is about. That's the lesson that I've been living. And I start the very next episode, you don't want to miss episode 2, is about the change that I, my wife, my family, our daughters have been through over this last season and are still in as we're figuring out what our next steps are. But I can't wait to share that. I can't wait to journey with you. I can't wait to be a part of it. I would ask you this, as you listen to these episodes, we want to hear your season of change. I know you're in a season of change, but I want to hear your story. So would you message us? Would you comment? Would you engage with us on all the social media platforms? If you're watching on YouTube, put comments in there. We read those. We respond to those. If you're on social media, listen, we're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We're on all of those, at Tom Hamill. I want to hear your comments, see the change, know the change. I want to journey with your change as you're journeying with mine as we go through this season 7, the season of change, what that's all about, and how to embrace the change in our life. Hey, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for journeying with us as we launch into the rest of this season. This is the Cultivation Podcast with Tom Hamill. Thanks for checking out this week's episode. Be sure to hit the like button, as well as make your comments in the comment section. We'd love to hear from you and journey with you. Also, hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on all the other incredible content we have coming at you.